There's a lot of articles in Minnesota. The Twins aren't drawing at their fabulous ballpark. They announced a paid crowd of like just over 10,000 for a game this week against the Mets. And they announced that someone said it was their smallest crowd in 15 years. There may have been weather issues or whatever the case was. We've told you about the Pirates. Paul Skeens is drawing 10 grand for his starts. That's it in that beautiful ballpark. You know, the Marlins last night drew 7,300 people. That's what I used to draw when we'd play the Diamondbacks midweek, but we'd announce, if you go back to a Diamondbacks midweek game, I didn't do this, but you can bet your sweet Bippy, we were not announcing 7,300. We were announcing 13,469. Go back if someone really has all the time in the world, or ask GPT the number of times our attendance ended with 69, you may laugh. Or 226. It's my birthday. The thing about attendance is that you go team by team and you focus on the good stories when you're Major League Baseball, that the Mets are averaging 5,000 fans more than last year, that the Dodgers have a chance to have over 4 million when they were at 3.9 last year. They're averaging 50,000 a game, which is just incredible. You can talk about all the games the Rays are selling out. You get to call it a sellout even though it's 10,000 fans, because you know they're playing at the spring training facility for the Yankees. There's a lot of talk about the A's in Sacramento and how they're not drawing great, even though their attendance is decent. They have a small stadium. They're not selling it out. They're playing in a AAA park. What does all this have in common, and why is it so important? It's that Rob Manfred, as the commissioner of baseball, needs to figure out a couple of things. He said to us that the league averaged 29,373 fans per game last season, and he would like that, which was a record since 2017, the most. He wants that to be higher during this season. He's not necessarily willing to do what Bud Selig was willing to do. When Bud Selig said the attendance was going to be higher, trust me, it was higher, because he would call teams and say, hey, make your attendance higher. We'll buy tickets from you. We would buy tickets from us. That's how we would get our attendance higher. You can create records all you want. But as you know, 100 people who spend $1 is the same as one person who spends $100. So that is why attendance is an absolutely meaningless number. Because if you bring in one person and they're willing to pay you $100, and the only way to get 100 people is if they're only willing to pay $1, what do? 100 people feels better. That's more people. But then you got to get people and ushers and parking and concessions. Screw it. Let the one person spend $100 and bring them into your suite. You see, there are expenses associated with revenues. And you take your revenues, you hope they're greater than your expenses. And from that, you have an operating income or profit. If your expenses are greater than your revenues, you are SOL. So when attendance is discussed, what you should be focused on is what is the average ticket price at these ballparks? What is the revenue that is being generated at these ballparks? Both ticket revenue, then the concomitant food, beverage, merchandise, parking revenue. You put all that together and you start to get the picture of what the local attendance-related revenue is. Remember, if you buy a ticket to a baseball game, you count as paid attendance. But if you don't show up, and there's thousands of people who don't show up, when the Dodgers announce a sellout, you will always see empty seats. It is normal. People don't show up, but it's still a paid ticket. But you only get the ticket revenue. You don't get food, parking, beverage, concession, unless they are part of an all-inclusive area where you prepay for all that, which is my kind of area, because it gives me revenue certainty and me not caring about someone not showing up because they've already paid for everything. The interesting thing that baseball has to think about now as it heads into collective bargaining is, how important is attendance? It's always been the thing that we focused on. Hey, more people go to see baseball games than the other leagues combined. Well, we've got 10 times more games than anybody else, so that would seem to make sense. And we also have these pretty high capacity places, because think about arenas where hockey and basketball are 18,000, 19,000. The Garden, 19,700. And hi, my name is David Samson. We're good. 19,763 is the attendance at the Garden. You announce a baseball game on a Saturday night of 19,763, and the question is, what's wrong? How did that happen? So the question is, how important is attendance? Well, it turns out that Rob Manfred has been telling us, along with Noah Garden, the deputy commissioner in charge of business and media, that they've decided they want to make this a more national game. They want there to be national streaming packages, national broadcast packages, the NFL way of doing things. The NFL way of doing things is that the majority of revenue that teams have in a salary cap, salary floor league, where the band between the team spending the most and the team spending the least is way smaller than what exists in baseball. The way they do that is they take all the national broadcast revenue, split it equally, and that national broadcast revenue is a huge percentage of team revenue. Baseball has just never been that way. But if they're trying to make baseball that way, there's a few things that come with it. If national broadcast revenue becomes the thing, why would it not make sense? And please, do not think for 1 second that I've changed my mind about anything relating to Scott Boras. Nothing. And that's not shrapnel against Boras. That is earned because of who he is and how he acts and what he does. Even a blind squirrel can find a nut. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. Scott Boras had something, and when he had something I agree with, I'm happy to tell you. And the more I've been thinking about it, the more I agree with it. He was talking about neutral site World Series. Why would a neutral site World Series make sense? Well, turns out the Super Bowl is at a neutral site. Maybe once in a while, coincidentally, you've got a team who makes it to the Super Bowl, but a site that's chosen years in advance. It's used by the broadcaster who knows it's broadcasting to activate it. It's used by the league to activate with the partners. It's not a last-minute craze, which is what baseball always has been, where you've got multiple teams planning World Series events. Sponsors don't know where they're going into the last minute. They have to double book flights. Forget traveling secretaries. Neutral fans, not from the city, don't know, do I fly in? Do I not fly in? Do I wait till it's done? And then can I get tickets? If you know where the World Series is going to be, the other thing you can do, have it at a huge stadium. I bring your attention to 2003 when the Yankees and Marlins were in the World Series. The Marlins were playing at Pro Player Stadium, selling out a football stadium for every one of the 3 home games. The old Yankee Stadium, where the World Series was, yes, we were the last team to win a World Series at Old Yankee Stadium in 2003. 60,000 plus. The players get a share of that. The league gets a share of that. The revenue that is gained through a 6 or 7 game series at a site where both venues, home and away, are that big is tremendous. Imagine if you played all 7 games in a football-sized stadium. Imagine if you played all 7 games in a huge capacity, good weather. Forget the Alex Cora. No one cares about the weather in October. The fact of the matter is it's a big deal to players. It's a big deal to fans. It's a big deal to sponsors. Why do you think the NFL owners can't stand Super Bowls in Minnesota? They want to be in Miami, New Orleans, Los Angeles, Vegas. Weather matters. There are going to be tons of changes coming down the pike in baseball over the next 3 years. And don't be surprised if neutral site World Series is back on the table.